My sister told everyone I was too stupid to ever succeed for 20 years. So I got my PhD, started 3 businesses, and now she's applying to be my intern using a fake name. Take a second to show us some love by subscribing. And let us know where you're listening from. It warms our hearts to see our global family. The smell of burnt mac and cheese hit me before I even opened Mama's front door. It was Sunday, which meant family dinner, which meant my sister Ruth would find some way to humiliate me in front of everyone. I was 28, standing on that creaky porch in Detroit's West Side, and I could already feel my stomach nodding. There she is. The college dropout finally showed up. Ruth's voice rang out before I even made it to the kitchen. She was perched on the counter, her legs swinging, that satisfied smirk I knew so well plastered across her face. I didn't drop out, Ruth. I took a semester off to work. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. Right, Shanice? A semester. That was 3 years ago. She turned to our cousin Jay, who'd just gotten his associate degree. Girl can't even finish community college. Too stupid, I swear. The words hit like they always did. Precise. Designed to cut deep. Mama didn't even look up from her collard greens. Ruth, leave your sister alone. But there was no force behind it. Never was. I'm just being honest, Mama. Somebody needs to tell her the truth. She's wasting her time trying to be something she's not. Some people just aren't cut out for higher education. Ruth examined her nails, French-tipped and perfect like everything else about her appearance. I stood there in my Target work uniform, polyester itching against my skin, and felt something inside me crack. Not break, not yet. Just crack. A hairline fracture that would eventually splinter into something much bigger. Pass the rolls, I said quietly, deciding right then that this would be the last time she made me feel this small. That night, lying in my cramped studio apartment on Woodward Avenue, I couldn't stop replaying Ruth's words. The thing is, this wasn't new. It was a script she'd perfected over 2 decades. I remembered being 8 years old, struggling with long division. Ruth, 13 and already the golden child, had laughed. You're so dumb, Shanice. Even the babies in my class get this. At 15, when I didn't make honor roll, guess we know who got the brains in this family. At 18, when I got a scholarship to Wayne State but it didn't cover everything. Partial scholarship? That's just them feeling sorry for you. 21, when I had to take that semester off because Daddy died and someone needed to help Mama with bills. I knew you wouldn't finish. You're not built for it. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Tasha. Stop letting her get in your head, girl. But it wasn't just in my head anymore. Ruth had spent years building this narrative to everyone we knew. At last month's family reunion, I'd overheard her telling our aunt, Shanice? Oh, she's working retail. Probably always will. Some people just don't have that drive, you know? I pulled out my laptop, a refurbished Dell I'd saved 6 months to afford. I had 17 credits left to finish my bachelor's degree. I'd been taking 1 class at a time, paying out of pocket, refusing to take on debt. The University of Michigan's PhD program website glowed on my screen. Psychology. I'd been researching it for months, too afraid to even dream. Too stupid, I whispered to my empty apartment. Then louder, too stupid. I opened the application. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. Not Mama, not Tasha, and definitely not Ruth. For the next 18 months, I lived a double life that would have made a spy jealous. By day, I worked at Target, smiling through customer tantrums and restocking shelves. By night, I was someone else entirely. I finished my bachelor's degree online through Wayne State, maintaining a 4.0 GPA while Ruth told everyone I'd given up on education for good. The jury nearly killed me. I studied in my car during lunch breaks, in the bathroom at family gatherings, at 3 a.m. when my brain felt like static. I took it twice. The first score was good. The second was exceptional. "Shanice, you coming to my promotion dinner?" Ruth called one October evening. She'd just made senior accountant at her firm, and of course she needed an audience. "Wouldn't miss it," I said, knowing I'd be missing my statistics study group. Small price. At that dinner held at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse downtown, Ruth was in rare form. "You know, I really think I'm going to make partner before I'm 35. Some of us are just naturally ambitious." She said it while looking directly at me, her eyes glittering with malice disguised as concern. Our Uncle Jerome raised his glass. "That's my niece. Not like some people who are content being mediocre." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted copper. But I smiled and nodded because I had a secret they didn't know. I'd already been accepted to 3 PhD programs. Full funding. Stipend. Everything. And I'd chosen Michigan, the one Ruth had been rejected from twice. I waited until Christmas to tell them. The whole family was there. Mama, Ruth, Uncle Jerome, Aunt Patricia, cousins, everyone. Mama's house was packed, smelling like ham and sweet potato pie, gospel music playing low in the background. Ruth was holding court in the living room, talking about her latest client. It's really about having the intellectual capacity to understand complex financial systems. Not everyone has that kind of mind. "Speaking of education," I interrupted, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "I have some news." The room went quiet. Mama looked worried. She probably thought I was pregnant or fired or something equally disappointing in her eyes. "I've been accepted to the University of Michigan's Clinical Psychology PhD program. Full funding, research assistantship, the whole thing. I start in January." You could have heard a pin drop. Ruth's face went through a rapid-fire sequence of emotions. Confusion, disbelief, anger, and finally, a forced smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Wait, you? A PhD program? At Michigan?" "Yes, me. At Michigan." I pulled out my acceptance letter because I knew she'd demand proof. "Where I believe you applied twice." Aunt Patricia gasped. Uncle Jerome looked between us, sensing blood in the water. Ruth snatched the letter, her hands actually trembling as she read it. When did you even finish your bachelor's?" "Last May. 4.0 GPA. Dean's List every semester." "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Mama finally spoke and she sounded hurt. "Because for 20 years, every time I tried to accomplish something, I was told I was too stupid to succeed. So I decided to do it quietly." I looked directly at Ruth. No distractions. Ruth's face flushed red. Moving to Ann Arbor felt like stepping into a different universe. Suddenly, I was Dr. Johnson's research assistant, running cognitive behavioral therapy studies, publishing papers. My cohort, 7 brilliant people from across the country, became my new family. But Ruth's presence haunted me even from 60 miles away. She started showing up uninvited, just dropping by my apartment near campus. Each visit was a performance. "This place is so small. Don't PhD students make any money?" She'd wrinkle her nose at my second-hand furniture. Or, "I saw your name on that paper. Last author? That means you barely contributed, right?" She didn't understand academia. Last author in psychology meant I was the lab lead. But I didn't correct her. I was too busy. My advisor, Dr. Rachel Morrison, a black woman who'd navigated these same waters, pulled me aside one day. "Shanice, you're brilliant, but you're holding back. What's stopping you?" I told her everything. About Ruth, about the 20 years of being called stupid, about how even now, with a top-tier program accepting me, I sometimes wondered if they'd made a mistake. Dr. Morrison's face hardened. "That's internalized depression talking. Your sister's voice in your head. You need to evict her." Easier said than done. But I tried. I threw myself into my research on family dynamics and psychological abuse. Ironic, really. I was studying the exact thing I'd experienced. By the end of year one, I'd co-authored 3 papers and won a competitive research grant worth $50,000. I presented at a national conference in Boston. Ruth sent a text, "Congrats, I guess. Though grants are basically charity money, right?" I deleted it without responding. The idea came to me at 2 a.m. during my second year, fueled by coffee and frustration. I was working with Dr. Morrison on a study about Black women's mental health access when it hit me. There was a massive gap in culturally competent therapy resources. What if we created an app? I said during our next meeting. AI-assisted therapy matching, specifically designed for BIPOC communities. Therapists verified for cultural competency, sliding scale fees, insurance integration. Dr. Morrison leaned back, eyes bright. "That's not just research, Shanice. That's a business." I'd never considered myself an entrepreneur. That was Ruth's territory. She never shut up about business mindset and entrepreneurial spirit. But this felt different. This felt necessary. I brought in Jay, my cousin who'd gotten into software development, and Tasha, who had an MBA and was working in healthcare administration. We called it MindBridge. Building a company while finishing a PhD was insanity. I wrote code at midnight, ran therapy sessions during the day, and somehow kept my dissertation moving forward. I lived on 4 hours of sleep in sheer spite. At Mama's birthday dinner that June, Ruth noticed I looked exhausted. "PhD program too hard for you?" I heard most people drop out. "Actually, I'm building a company," I said casually, passing the mashed potatoes. Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. "A company?" "Mental health tech startup. We just got our first round of seed funding. $750,000 from a venture capital firm in Chicago." Ruth's eye twitched. "You running a company?" "Technically, I'm the founder and CEO. But yes, me." I smiled sweetly. "Would you like to invest?" She didn't speak to me for the rest of the dinner. Year 3 of my PhD brought changes I'd never imagined. MindBridge launched in beta and the response was overwhelming. We had 10,000 users in the first month. Mental health influencers were talking about us. Local news did a segment. Then came the call that changed everything. "Ms. Johnson? This is Sandra Beauregard from the MacArthur Foundation. We'd like to discuss your work for our fellowship program. The MacArthur Genius Grant. I didn't win it. I was too early in my career. But I was shortlisted. The publicity alone was incredible. Suddenly, I wasn't just a PhD student. I was a rising star in psychology and social entrepreneurship. The Detroit News wanted an interview. Local woman revolutionizes mental health access while earning PhD. I called Mama first. "Baby, I'm so proud of you," she said, and I heard tears in her voice. Real ones. "I'm sorry I didn't. I should have supported you more." "It's okay, Mama." "No, it's not. I let Ruth make you feel small and that wasn't right. You've always been brilliant. I just didn't see it." We both cried. It was the healing I didn't know I needed. Ruth, predictably, had a different reaction. She posted on Facebook, "So proud of my baby sister for her little accomplishments. I always knew she had potential." As if she hadn't spent 2 decades saying the opposite. I didn't respond. I was too busy. Dr. Morrison and I were writing a book. MindBridge was expanding to 3 more cities. And I was defending my dissertation in 6 months. "You need to slow down," Tasha warned me over lunch at Zingerman's Deli, the Ann Arbor institution where we now held our business meetings. "You're going to burn out." She wasn't wrong. I was running MindBridge, finishing my dissertation, teaching undergraduate classes, and I'd barely slept in weeks. But I couldn't slow down. Not yet. Because I had another idea. What if I said, pushing my sandwich aside. We created a consulting firm, helping other mental health practices integrate technology and cultural competency training. Jay groaned. Shanice, you're insane. Maybe. But there's a market for it. We've had 17 practices reach out asking how we built MindBridge. What if we helped them? That's how Elevate Consulting was born. My second company. We started small. Just me, Jay, and 2 consultants we hired part-time. But we were good. Really good. Within 8 months, we had 25 clients across the Midwest. We were bringing in revenue. Real revenue. I defended my dissertation in March, 3 months ahead of schedule. My research on intergenerational trauma in Black families was being called groundbreaking. I had my PhD, Dr. Shanice Johnson. At my graduation, Ruth showed up late, left early, and spent the whole time on her phone. Mama noticed. Ruth, put that away. This is your sister's day. I'm working, Mama. Some of us have real jobs. Dr. Morrison, who was sitting behind them, leaned forward. Excuse me, but your sister just earned a doctorate from one of the top programs in the country. That's about as real as it gets. Ruth's face went red, but she stayed quiet. 6 months after graduation, I was Dr. Shanice Johnson, CEO of 2 successful companies, and I was tired. But I wasn't done. The third company came from watching Mama struggle to understand my success. She was proud but confused by the tech world, by venture capital, by terms like series of funding and user acquisition. There should be classes for people like me, she said one Sunday, so we can understand what our kids are doing. That spark became Legacy Learning, an education platform teaching financial literacy, business basics, and tech skills to folks over 50, specifically targeting Black and Brown communities left behind by the digital revolution. We partnered with community centers, churches, libraries, kept costs low, emphasis high on dignity and respect. No one would be made to feel stupid for not knowing something. The irony wasn't lost on me. Legacy Learning exploded. Within a year, we had programs in 40 cities. I was on the cover of Essence magazine, the PhD who's changing how we think about mental health, business, and education. Forbes named me to their 30 under 30 list in healthcare. Then education. Then social entrepreneurship. I hit all 3 categories. TechCrunch did a feature, How Dr. Shanice Johnson Built 3 Companies Before Turning 32. I was invited to speak at conferences, universities, corporate events. My calendar was insane. My bank account was even more insane. I'd gone from living paycheck to having more money than I'd ever imagined. And through it all, Ruth's commentary continued, now on social media where everyone could see. My sister's success really shows that anything is possible. I always believed in her. With photos of us as kids rewriting history in real time. Started as a joke, honestly. I was having drinks with Tasha and Jay at The Last Word, a speakeasy in downtown Ann Arbor, celebrating MindBridge hitting 1 million users. You know what you need? Jay said halfway through his old-fashioned. An intern. Someone to handle the day-to-day stuff so you can focus on big picture. I need about 15 interns, I laughed. And a clone. Maybe 2 clones. But later that night, slightly tipsy and feeling bold, I drafted a job posting for a business operations intern across all 3 companies. It was a real position. 6 months, paid well at $25 per hour with potential for full-time employment. Someone to coordinate between companies, manage scheduling, handle logistics. I posted it on Monday morning. By Wednesday, we had 247 applications. Tasha was helping me review them in my office. An actual office now, not my apartment. MindBridge headquarters in Detroit's New Center area. All glass and exposed brick and plants everywhere because I'd be damned if I was working in some sterile corporate space. Holy shit, Tasha said, stopping mid-scroll through the applications. What? She turned her laptop toward me. Application number 143. Tell me that isn't who I think it is. I looked at the screen. The application name read Kendra Williams. Professional headshot. A woman with straightened hair, lighter makeup than usual, glasses she didn't need. But I'd know that face anywhere. It was Ruth. My sister was applying to be my intern using a fake name. I stared at the screen, my brain struggling to process what I was seeing. The resume listed her real experience but under Kendra Williams. I didn't make any decisions immediately. Instead, I did what any good psychologist would do. I investigated. Pull everything, I told Jay. I need to understand what's happening here. It didn't take long to piece together. Ruth's accounting firm had downsized 6 months ago. She'd been let go, not for performance issues but last hired, first fired type situation. She'd been job hunting since, getting increasingly desperate. Her LinkedIn, which I'd blocked her from seeing my activity on, showed mounting desperation. Posts about embracing new opportunities and pivoting career paths. The kind of toxic positivity that screamed panic. She'd burned through her savings. I found out through Mama that Ruth was 3 months behind on her condo mortgage in Royal Oak. She'd been too proud to tell anyone, too proud to ask for help. And definitely too proud to admit that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as financially secure as she'd always claimed. But applying to work for me under a fake name? That was a new level of something. Desperation? Delusion? Strategic sabotage? What are you going to do? Tasha asked, watching me pace my office. I don't know. Part of me wants to reject the application and pretend I never saw it. And the other part? I stopped pacing. The other part wants to interview her. See how far she'll take this lie. That's petty, Shanice. Maybe. I looked at my best friend. But she spent 20 years telling me I was too stupid to succeed. 20 years, Tasha. And now she's so desperate she's applying to work for me under a fake name instead of just asking. Instead of apologizing. Instead of acknowledging anything. Tasha was quiet for a long moment. So interview her. See what happens. But decide beforehand what you actually want from this. I set up the interview for the following Tuesday. Conference room B, the one with the view of the Detroit skyline. I wore my favorite power suit, deep purple, tailored perfectly, paired with the Louboutins I'd bought to celebrate my dissertation defense. Ruth, sorry, Kendra. Arrived exactly on time. She'd committed to the disguise. Different hairstyle, those fake glasses, even slightly different makeup contouring that changed her face shape just enough. Miss Williams, thank you for coming in, I said, shaking her hand. She was sweating. I could feel it. Thank you for having me, Dr. Johnson. I'm really excited about this opportunity. We sat. I opened her application on my tablet. So, Kendra, tell me about yourself. She launched into a prepared speech, using slightly different inflections in her voice. It was almost impressive, the level of commitment. She talked about her accounting background and desire to learn about entrepreneurship, and how she'd always admired MindBridge from afar. What interests you most about working across 3 companies? I asked. The diversity of experience. And honestly, she leaned forward, putting on what I recognized as her sincere face. I've followed your career, Dr. Johnson. What you've built is incredible. I'd love to learn from someone so accomplished. The audacity. I maintained my poker face, years of family dinners with this woman having perfected my ability to hide reactions. Tell me about a time you had to admit you were wrong about something important. She blinked. What kind of question is that? A standard interview question. Tell me about a time you misjudged a situation or a person, and how you handled realizing your mistake. Ruth, Kendra, stumbled through an answer about misjudging a client's needs. It was bullshit and we both knew it. I let her finish. Then I took off my glasses, set them on the table and looked at my sister. Really looked at her. Ruth, this is embarrassing for both of us. Her face drained of color. My name is Kendra. Your name is Ruth Johnson. You're my older sister. And you're sitting in my office applying to be my intern under a fake name rather than just talking to me. The silence was deafening. I watched her face cycle through emotions. Denial, anger, fear, and finally shame. How long have you known? She whispered. Since I saw your application. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize you? Tears started streaming down her face, ruining the careful makeup. I didn't know what else to do. I've been unemployed for 6 months. I'm about to lose my condo. I have nothing left, Shanice. Nothing. So you thought lying was the answer? I thought if I could just get in the door, prove myself, maybe you'd forget everything I said. Everything I did. She was sobbing now. I'm so sorry. For everything. For 20 years of making you feel worthless. For being cruel. For being jealous. Jealous? You spent 20 years telling me I was stupid. Because I was terrified, she exploded. You were always smarter than me even when we were kids. Everyone could see it except you. So I made sure you couldn't see it either. If I kept you small, I could feel big. The confession hung in the air between us. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the city I'd conquered despite her. I'm not giving you this job, Ruth. I know. But I'm going to help you. Not because you deserve it, but because I'm not you. I'm going to pay off your mortgage, give you 6 months living expenses, and connect you with a career counselor. What you do with that is up to you. He stared at me stunned. Why? Because spending 20 years proving you wrong was exhausting. And I'm done. I'm done being defined by your cruelty. I'm done giving you space in my head. I turned to face her. Get therapy, Ruth. Real therapy. Deal with whatever made you need to destroy me to feel good about yourself. I don't deserve your help. No, you don't. But I deserve peace. I walked to the door, held it open. We're done here. He left, still crying. I never saw her again. 3 years later I got a letter. Ruth, the real one, apologizing truly. She'd done the work, gotten help, rebuilt her life. She didn't ask for forgiveness or a relationship. She just wanted me to know she understood what she'd done. I wrote back, I'm glad you're healing. I am too. And I was. Dr. Shanice Johnson, CO, psychologist, philanthropist. No longer the stupid little sister. Just myself. Finally, completely myself. Some stories end with revenge. This one ended with freedom. And that was sweeter than any revenge could ever be.